There's
Hey,
James.
good evening. Calling the zoning hearing board for April 18th to order. We have 4 members, 2 there and 2 on Zoom. So as a reminder, a majority vote is required for approval of an appeal. So we would need to get 3 in order to pass. And I believe our first order of business is appeal 23-2001. If Adam wants to read the exhibits in.
Yeah, James Brand is the 4th.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the alternate member.
Yep.
All right, for the exhibits, we have the application as A1. We have the site plans are all going to be collectively marked as A2. I think there's either 18 or 19 sheets. A3 is going to be the March 1st, 2023 letter from the applicant's engineer, Jeffrey Simmons, which describes the project and the requested relief. B1 is going to be the proof of publication, B2, the proof of posting, and B3, the notice to the neighbors.
Okay, can the appellant come forward and for the representation and get sworn in? Please go up to the microphone and make sure the microphones are on.
Yeah. Sit down. Good.
You can sit down, yeah.
That's my daughter. I'm just gonna...
And Dan can put stuff up on the screen when you want it up on the screen.
Okay, I'll do that. Yes. I'm sorry, Bill. Who did we just swear in? Okay.
Nobody's sworn in. Yeah, make sure the microphone is on and
You guys hear me?
yes.
I am Jeffrey Simmons. Yes. Yes.
Okay, do you want to explain what you're looking for here and what your project is?
Sure. So we are here tonight seeking variance relief and acknowledgement of proposed impervious surface mitigation regarding a residential addition project at 290 Elbow Lane in Yardley Crest. Project consists of a 1-story rear addition and an adjacent rear exterior wooden deck with a roof covering over a portion of the deck. The project in the proposal represents an overage in the allowable impervious surface for this particular piece of property. All other zoning aspects of the project meet the code by right. That would be the setbacks, building coverage, all of the other things as well. So that is strictly that issue today. We have proposed.
Hey, Peter. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Being fairly new to this, I think I have to disclose that Jeff and I have a working relationship. He's an architect that I work with in Philadelphia. I don't know if that means that I can't vote on this.
Can you just describe that a little bit further? And then we have
Sure.
4. So if you had to recuse yourself, it's not the end of the world because we would have 3.
Yeah. So Jeff is the architect that I use in Philadelphia for currently 1 residential redevelopment project. He handles all of the plans from an architectural standpoint. He's my architect, so I don't know. If I just have to disclose that, and that's cool, that's fine with me. But I just felt like I should probably put that out there.
But that's professionally, like through work, you're working not personally?
It's my personal investments in real estate. So,
Got it.
I mean, it is professional, but I mean, it's my personal investment.
No, just trying to clarify. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not something that's too critical. I think that it would be best to do it, but I would say to still stay on the meeting because we have other business that we have to do after this appeal. So I would say you should recuse yourself for this, but then stay on because you can participate in the other business after this appeal.
Yep, no problem.
I would also add, you can still ask questions as a member of the public. So
Yeah, for
if
sure.
it's something you want to talk about, you're just recusing yourself from the vote. And Adam's right, it doesn't really change the math of the vote. It still is either way. 2 no votes means it doesn't go. 1 no vote means it goes. So
Yeah, you don't have fear of a tie.
yep. All right, you can go back to explaining the project here.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, it's a residential addition, rear addition, associated deck. All other aspects of the zoning code are met by right. What we're here tonight is to seek the variance and acknowledgement of the proposed impervious mitigation techniques seen on Z100. The subject property is subject to a impervious surface maximum that was built into the original subdivision plan in a covenant. It is, I believe, note 12. Correct, 12. It's on the original subdivision record plan of Yardley Crest. Within that covenant, each lot is afforded 4,195 square feet impervious coverage for the developer, with an additional 129 square feet set aside for the property owner, which leaves us 4,324 square feet. That represents 22.4% taken from the overall size of the property. We have proposed mitigation efforts in terms of a combination of dry wells and additional tree plantings. I have broken that out on Z100 in terms of the lower Makefield Township impervious surface calculations for projects less than 5,000 square feet of impervious surface. These measures include some existing measures and existing vegetation cover, as well as 6 new prefabricated dry wells, 8 new evergreen trees calculated on the plan. And my client informed me tonight that he is actually planning on planting 18 new trees. With that in mind, the impervious surface overage as it stands, proposed 4,912, would require 98 cubic feet of mitigation. Through my calculations, I have illustrated that we're in excess of that volume control. I also like to point out that in addition to the zoning criteria being met by right, it is my belief that this addition and rear deck would not infringe on any of the neighbors, any of their sight lines, any of their property.
All right, opening it up to questions from the board. I have a quick one to start with for Dan. I noticed that the exterior deck is projecting in the setback. Is that correct, Dan? Does not require a variance?
Yes, there's no variance required for any setback issues.
Judy, I'm going to leave the tree discussion up to you unless you want me to take it. Yeah.
I'll start and you can finish. I like trees and I understand how they take away water. The problem though with trees are you cannot guarantee they're going to grow or how long they're going to be there. A storm, just the death of a tree, whatever, that usually really can't be, it's not something the board usually can consider as part of mitigation. Peter, you want to go from there? Where'd I cover it?
You covered most of it. There's no guarantee that the next owner of the building is going to maintain the tree canopy or you have a disease come through, like Judy said. So the board, unless it's minimal change in impervious coverage, is looking for permanent systems that can be maintained, French drains, dry wells, that sort of system. So, and your new dry wells only cover 20 cubic feet. So
I know.
I believe the board would be looking for a dry well provision that would cover the increased impervious. Dan, do you have a calculation for that?
Yes, and I also spoke with Mr. Simmons prior to the meeting. I just want to clarify the existing impervious, the 4,417 plus 282 for the addition and 213 for the rear deck gives you that 4,912 for the proposed impervious. So they technically wouldn't need to remove 73 square feet from the walkway. But if the board were so inclined to look for something more structural, a stone or a trench facility that's 3 by 6 by 12 would give them 86 cubic feet, which would cover the required control volume for that 495 square foot increase. No problem.
To be clear, you can always still plant trees, but the board likes that so that you have that permanent structure there.
Understood.
And the trees obviously helps additionally, in addition to providing privacy, shade, all the other benefits of trees.
The existing trees that are on the site, those don't count.
Same rationale. I mean,
We're talking about,
a lot of trees.
well, we're talking about established mid-growth trees that are on the site now. These are not.
It's just the case that the next owner may decide they don't like those trees, a storm.
Understood.
I mean, unfortunately, my neighbor lost in a very established tree when the whole top ended up going and we had to remove the tree. So it's just not a permanent.
Understood.
Either James, do you have questions? We haven't heard from you yet.
One thing that it's not necessarily specific to this, but when we had, it was, I think 6 weeks ago, we had another case with the wetlands where there was something written in with trees. I guess maybe that wasn't specific to the impervious surface. I'm just trying to draw a parallel here. If we had a situation.
It wasn't. That particular case was the wetland buffer setback, and a fully vegetated setback per the ordinance can be narrower than an unvegetated setback. And Dan can give me the numbers and the details on that.
I
But
got
by vegetating it, it allowed them to move the wetlands buffer closer.
Right. It wasn't an impervious surface situation. Okay.
Correct,
I just
yep.
wanted to draw that connection. All right.
Yep.
So what are we looking to pull this back to in terms of impervious? Because I'm not going to lie, how it was presented was mildly confusing to me. We're usually dealing with percentages, and Jeff decided to deal with actual raw numbers, which makes sense when I read what he put together. But So when we're talking about this, Pete, are we looking to roll this back to a raw number, or are we looking to, right now, they're proposing 25.4. Are we looking to get this back to 22.8? Like what's the exact units of measurement we should be using when we discuss this?
Dan, can you weigh in? I
Sure.
mean, in general, we use percentages all the time. and
That's why I
it's
asked.
Yeah,
back to percentage, correct?
Yeah, so I think just the way this recorded plan is written, they just have a numerical number, not a percentage. But I think the issue at hand is just the 495 square foot increase. So that 4,912, which is proposed, if you minus that 495, it would bring it back to that existing impervious that is 4,417.
So what do we need to do to get there without the trees being calculated? Is that the three,
Yeah, that would be the trench.
the trench
Yeah,
that
that-
you described?
Yeah, it's 3 foot deep, 6 foot wide, and 12 feet in length. Would give them 86 cubic feet of required control volume, which is larger than 83 cubic feet, which would be required for 495 square foot increase. And it doesn't need to be that specific dimensions, but that would get them to that point.
Okay.
Yeah, and James, normally we don't give that specific dimensions. We usually just give the mitigating it back to the township sense.
Right.
Engineer satisfaction.
So basically, Jeff and Ray, what we're gonna most likely vote on is asking you guys to install a seepage bed that meets the specs of our engineer to take the impervious surface back to the current 22.8. So if that's something you guys are willing to do, we could probably vote on that tonight. And it would be, again, subject to township approval of the seepage bed. Does that make sense? Because I'm not sure. It's a little bit going back and forth here. I want to make sure you're kind of where we're coming from.
Absolutely, understood. The existing impervious rate based on the record plan represents 22.4% of the site. We're asking for 25.4. So we're asking for an increase of 3%, 3.0%.
Yeah, and we understand that.
Okay.
And then we would just want
So just clarifying from your
the
your earlier
seepage bed to
comment.
mitigate it back to the 22.4.
Understood. I was just clarifying for your earlier comment about the square footages.
All right. Any
Well,
other?
considering the fact
questions?
that the trees are not going to be recognized, that would make a lot of sense. That you would need a structured mitigation tactic.
Yeah, there's actually, speaking with our township engineers, they're currently looking at rewording that part of our code where trees are included, because we run into this a fair amount.
Sure, and to be fair, the calculator available through the township
Correct.
offers that as a
Yeah.
technique, so it's a bit misleading.
There's someone over at the township buildings got a mean spirit. We haven't identified who, but someone.
But yeah, like we said, trees are icing on the cake.
Understood. I think the trees, from what I understand, Ray, you would install those anyway for privacy and mention.
Trees are great.
Yep.
Do you want to come up and get sworn in?
Yeah, just be sworn in.
Yes, I do.
Have a seat.
So could you ask that question on the record again? Into the microphone?
What is a seepage bed? Like, is this a trench in my backyard that's
Dan,
20
you wanna
wide, 6
explain?
feet deep? No?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
So it's
My wife
just
would kill me, so I just want-
nothing too big, a pretty average sized hole that they would dig, put some stone with a drench that would collect water. They wrap it in fabric and then put the backfill over it, so you wouldn't even see it. Yeah,
Buried in the dirt.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then you put grass on top.
Yeah.
Or flowers. At Judy's house, it's flowers.
And you said it's, sorry, I was trying to write that, 6 feet in length?
Can you stay closer to the microphone?
Sorry, what was the dimensions you mentioned?
3 feet deep, 6 feet wide and 12 feet in length.
Now, that could be modified. It's
Yeah.
the volume that matters, or it could be a couple locations, or you could even use those dry wells you're talking about too. It just needs to meet that volume of
Sure.
mitigation.
Dry wells count.
Yes,
Just have to get back.
correct.
Yeah, you would just need, so the seepage bed is just one specific instrument. The dry wells, you would need a handful of them. And from my understanding, talking to Jim Majewski, who's an engineer at the township, it would be a similar cost if you were to do a handful of dry wells compared to a seepage bed.
And we're going to word, and it is likely we're going to word the decision such that you have flexibility and choice, and the township engineer has to approve it.
Yeah, the point is, I could tell you're a little confused. You could do one or the other, or you could do a combination of both.
Yeah.
Whatever makes the most sense. I mean, Jeff should be able to guide you from a cost standpoint. I would go with the cost standpoint.
The issue ultimately with the prefab dry wells, they're not that big. So to overcome this amount of volume, we would need 75 of these things. So your backyard would become a prefab dry well thing. And in terms of
I will tell you, your wife will not see the seepage bed because I would have been the first in my yard
Okay.
not to be happy.
I appreciate that. And thank you for the clarity. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're willing to put whatever in there because I have cabinets coming. So I appreciate it.
All right. Is there any public comment? Is there anybody online? I'll take that as a no because I'm not hearing anything from our technical folks.
No.
Sorry, there's no public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's no other discussion from the board, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve appeal number 23-2001, mitigating the 25.4% impervious surface back to the existing 22.8%, subject to a stormwater management plan approved by our township engineer.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Appeal 23-2001 is approved as noted here.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And you're free to go. Now we move on to other business, which is appointment of our conflict counsel for the cell tower appeal.
Hey, can you repeat what you just said?
So the Celco tower appeal, Russ Seiko can no longer perform the conflict counsel since one of his clients is asking for representation as a party. So we are looking at a new conflict counsel for that appeal, since Adam's already recused himself.
Conflict counsel for conflict counsel. Not every day you see that, but yeah, the person is Ken Fetterman from Rothberg Fetterman. He's actually the zoning board solicitor in Bristol Township. We've known him for a long time. Good guy and competent in this field specifically, which is most important for what you guys need.
I'm assuming the party status list was given to him.
Yeah, I sent
Yes.
him the meeting minutes with the party status list, as well as the, sent him the YouTube link for the meeting from 2 weeks ago, just to do one final check for that, and to make sure everything is okay there. So that's what I
Now,
sent
just a
him.
reminder, we haven't ruled on the party status for a lot of those applicants, and it'll be up for discussion at the next meeting.
Sure.
Um,
Are we entertaining a motion on Mr. Fetterman?
I forwarded his proposal around about a half hour beforehand. I believe the rates are commensurate with what the market is for this. So, and he's got experience with zoning hearing boards, and he's amenable to our schedule. So for the projected dates.
Can't possibly be as much as Flagler and Associates.
Or.
Huh?
Yeah, so the point is if you appoint tonight, then he can prepare, get everything situated for the meeting in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Did you say
Correct.
his first name's Ken?
Ken.
Ken Fetterman.
Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, I guess technically it's Kenneth, but he goes by Ken.
I'll make a proposal to approve changing the zoning board solicitor to Ken Fetterman for the Verizon matter.
Am I allowed to second since I'm recused from the,
No, you should have.
I cannot.
I can
But
second
James
that.
can. Yep.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so Mr. Fetterman is appointed as conflict counsel. Now, a reminder, our upcoming meetings are May 2nd, May 15th, and then we go on to June, and then potentially the third week in July, because the first Tuesday is the 4th of July. And it'd be good if everybody shows up to every meeting so we have consistency, since it's going to be the same topic across multiple meetings.
And just as a reminder, the May 15th meeting is a Monday.
Yep.
Because the 16th is primary day. And generally when that happens, we move it a day early. So that meeting, the second meeting in May, will be on a Monday, not a Tuesday.
I received a letter. I want to let the parties know that I have recused myself. They don't have to question that, but I have recused myself from the issue.
Okay. That covers that. Anything else, Adam?
No, you can adjourn and get back to health.
Well, I didn't figure on spreading it to your kids, so through you. So
We could have swapped, you know?
okay. All right. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
So moved.
Okay.
Adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. See everybody or almost everybody in 2 weeks.
Feel
Thanks.
better.
Take care, guys.
Good evening.